For many, if not most, sports is an escape. Escape from the stress of life, banding together with your friends and family to root for a common goal. And so for most sports fans, they can't handle when this process is interrupted. They lash out, sometimes even suggesting athletes should know their place and stick to sports.
So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
So today, we answer the question, should athletes stick to sports? First, let's try to understand both sides of this story. Athletes understand their celebrity gives them a platform to influence people for the greater good, so they speak out, telling you about issues of all kinds and sometimes where to place your vote or who is not fit to lead you.
With the President of the United States, it's at a bad time. And while we cannot change what comes out of that man's mouth, we can continue to alert the people that watch us, that listen to us, as this is not the way.
We're talking about leadership and what's going on in our country. It's all about leadership.
It's not even a surprise when he says something. It's not even a surprise. It's like laughable. It's like,
it's laughable.
It's laughable and it's scary.
But it's also scary because I shouldn't be numb to your racist comments.
Right.
But regardless, oftentimes this does not sit well. Even though athletes like Lebron James and others are speaking out on racial equality, which is a human rights issue, he does bring some politics into it, so that's fair. Generally speaking though, when you want to solve a big issue like this, you need to make sure the people that are leading you, the people that are leading your country, are going to help the cause and not hurt it.
We need President Trump's leadership now more than ever. Before the pandemic, President Trump built the greatest economy in our nation's history and created opportunities for all Americans like no one before him.
It's the law enforcement who protect our communities and keep us safe.
But again, many, including the average sports fan, media personality, or otherwise, take a big issue when it comes to not just diverting the conversation from sports, but also supposedly stepping out of bounds and talking about politics, which supposedly these athletes could not possibly understand. The thing is, a lot of times athletes don't bring politics or politicians into these issues. A lot of times they are just simply talking about racial abuse and police brutality, or something that should be so easy and simple for us all to agree on, like child food poverty, something Marcus Rashford knows all too well. Yet these athletes are continually berated with stick to sports or keep politics out of sports. In fact, only recently has Marcus Rashford brought politicians into things to help change the world. And the worst part is, people will even get so mad to start verbally abusing these athletes and their families. And despite something, again, as simple and easy to agree on as feeding hungry children, a study came out showing that Rashford is one of the most abused people in sports. Looking back a few years ago, Colin Kaepernick started kneeling during the US's national anthem to talk about police brutality in the United States towards Black Americans. But somehow it was misconstrued, and then all of a sudden it became about disrespecting the flag and disrespecting veterans in the entire country as a whole.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired.
I wouldn't have expressed my feelings that way. He's getting paid enough to put up with what he's going through.
He's a spoiled brat.
And while Laura Ingraham wants athletes to stick to sports, what she and many others may not understand is that politics and nationalism, which is also heavily involved in this, is actually ingrained in sports culture. You don't believe me? Well, let me show you. For instance, just look at the big leagues in North America and their logos. Do you notice something? We can take this a step further with teams. How about the New England Patriots, the Washington Nationals, the Washington Capitals, the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Vancouver Canucks? You notice the trend here? Not only are their logos symbolic of national pride, but so are their colors, and symbolism in all its forms matters. Or how about this? You can't tell me you didn't notice the same aspects in the Olympics and in the World Cup. Two sporting competitions that literally revolve around nationalism and countries competing against each other for glory and supremacy. To top it off, generally speaking, the country that holds these events is oftentimes using it to distract from things like human rights issues and improve politicians' reputations, also known as sport washing. And to dive a little bit further into the hypocrisy of keeping politics out of sports, what was it again that Colin Kaepernick wouldn't stand for? Oh yeah, that's right, the national anthem. Around the world, we stand for our national anthems before sporting events to pay tribute to our country for what it has given us and the respect to our veterans who fought for it.
It's extremely disrespectful. You shouldn't be playing football. You shouldn't be doing that. If you can't, at least stand up for your country and support the men and women who put their lives on the line for you.
Now, keeping those values in mind, how would you feel as Colin Kaepernick, knowing that the country you live in and the flag that you are supposed to show gratitude for is the very same that enslaved your people for over 400 years? The same country that offered no compensation for Black Americans to help them catch up in a society that was built on the slave labor of their men, women, and children. How would you feel about the perplexing idea that America respects its soldiers when in fact, after the war, Black soldiers came back to America and not only did they not get the love and respect their white brothers in arms did, they actually received racial abuse and inequality that we still see plenty of today. I think and I hope that we can all understand something now. Politics is really just a way to govern and set rules and make our country, our world, a better place. So while down to their core, sexism, racism, child poverty, and so on are human rights issues, down to their core, that's what they are. But at the end of the day, oftentimes we do need to get politicians and politics involved to fix those things permanently. So in a sense, in a very large vacuum, those issues, all of them, are political issues in some way, shape, or form. But politics, realistically, is just part of being human. It's part of our society. We can't get rid of it. Athletes are human beings. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And while I do think, like all of us, they should know what they're talking about, they should understand and educate themselves on the issues that they're talking about, I say again, they're humans, so they can learn just like all of us. So if you want to argue the political stances of Jorge Masvidal or LeBron James, fine. That's a healthy and necessary conversation. But to expect these people with massive platforms to not try and change their world in a positive way is just wrong. So in closing, I won't say stick to sports. I won't say keep politics out of sports. I say let everyone speak. Let humans be humans. Because at the end of the day, that's what athletes are. So I'm going to let you guys exercise your right to speak up and let your voices be heard in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to Lingo Sports. And if you want even more, you can follow me and Lingo with the links in the description below.